What are you doing? Well, she said I like to take spirits from people.
On this edition of The Fifth Estate, she vanished 16 years ago.
I was horrified. This is not like my mother. She didn't take off.
Did she just get tired of her domestic life and want to leave? Was she murdered? Was she spirited away by a stranger?
But there were secrets in Wendy Ratté's past.
I don't know what she meant in those letters. They seemed incomprehensible to me.
What to believe and who.
So after you shot her, what happened then?
A daughter's search.
Why can't you just tell me what happened? That is all I want from him. Why can't you let me rest?
Hello, I'm Bob McEwen. Welcome to The Fifth Estate. It is the fundamental unit of humanity, the family. For most of us, for better or worse, it's the source of who we are and what we become. But for the Rattés of Prince George, British Columbia, Denis, his wife Wendy, and kids Anna and Gabriel, their family would be so much more complicated than that, ultimately torn apart by gambling, dual personalities, a missing person, and perhaps murder. As you're about to see, it's a family saga unlike any other. From the beginning, it was an unconventional love story. Wendy, the American free spirit from a well-to-do family in New England, who became a teacher like both parents. And the rough-hewn French-Canadian laborer, Denis, from Northern Ontario. But despite their differences, Anna Ratté says her parents seemed to belong together.
They had a great relationship. I'm not sure how to explain their relationship. They loved each other.
How do you know?
How do I know? I think you would just know. You know, the way they look at each other. They didn't fight. Even though Mom was a passionate person, there were no, we didn't witness fighting.
Anna remembers what for her and her younger brother Gabriel was an idyllic rural childhood.
We did a lot of trips together. We would pick berries, gardening. We did a lot of things together. Family time was important to all of us, right up until the end. Played card games, board games, watched movies, movies and popcorn. We were very, very close family.
Close, that is, until August 18th, 1997, when everything changed. According to Denis Ratté, that morning, Wendy dropped him off in downtown Prince George to do some errands. She was to pick him up in the family van at 1:30 to head home. Denis says he was waiting, but his wife never arrived. Anna, 17 at the time, was at home when she got a call from her father looking for Wendy.
He called to see if we'd heard from her, and I thought, what a strange question. Of course not, but Mom wasn't the type to be late for anything, but that was kind of adult stuff. I didn't concern myself too much with it.
Then Anna began making phone calls.
I don't know if it was the police first. I think I probably made just calls to where she was supposed to go. She was supposed to tutor a girl. I called her and she never made it there. She was supposed to visit a friend, so she never did. Kind of made some other normal phone calls, hospital, those things, no sign.
So Anna and her father drove around Prince George searching for Wendy, the family van, or hopefully both. Then he stopped his truck near Tim Hortons.
So we got out and I looked around the hedges and there was the van parked nicely under floodlights in a grocery store parking lot.
They'd found the van, but no trace of Wendy. In those first hours, is the expectation that the door is going to open and it'll be your mother?
Yeah.
That she's got to come back. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Waited for the phone to ring. We sat at the kitchen table staring for her to walk down the driveway. We were so far out of town, I don't know why. I would just wait for her to walk back down, and I just waited and waited.
Anna spent that first week postering Prince George with her mother's picture. Then, for her and her dad, more waiting. How did your father handle the waiting at that point?
He was outside a lot. He smoked a lot. And we didn't say much to each other at the time. You know, Dad just kept saying, should be here soon. At that point, I saw him break down for the first time.
Prince George is the largest city in northern BC, located at the eastern end of what's become known as the Highway of Tears.
The Highway of Tears is a very loose term, generally speaking, for the highway between Prince Rupert and Prince George. And during several decades, a lot of young women particularly have gone missing or been found murdered along that stretch of highway.
Frank Peebles is a reporter for the Prince George Citizen. He says though the disappearance of Wendy Ratté was one of dozens over the years, it was different because she was not 20-something and single, like most of the missing women.
She was a 44-year-old mother who had a family that she attended to carefully. This was something that caught everyone's attention because of the shock value that it instilled, that she was a common housewife. And those are people who do not typically disappear.
As her spouse, and the last to see Wendy alive, it was no surprise when the police questioned Denis.
He called a couple of times a few weeks after she disappeared and said, of course, the police are questioning me. I'm the husband. And I said, yep, you're the husband. You're suspected right off the bat. It's always, you know, the closest family. It's normal, and, you know, you didn't do it, so don't worry about it.
However, Denis' sister Diane says she warned him not to take a lie detector test.
He said, yeah, but they're bugging me. Finally, he called me back a while after. He says, I did the lie detector test, and I passed it. See, I was right. And I said, yeah, fine, okay. For once, you were right.
In Prince George, it seemed everyone had an opinion about what might have happened. Wendy had been researching teaching possibilities back home in the U.S. Perhaps she simply decided to change her life and take one. She had expressed interest in a religious community in BC. Maybe she'd gone there. Anna prayed it was something like that, and not foul play.
I think I believed every theory at one point and rolled with it. I went back and forth in my mind. You know, I went through the anger of maybe she did leave.
Because they were easier than thinking she might be dead.
Yeah. Well, I thought if she was dead, there would be a body somewhere. You know, she'd be found. But there was nothing.
According to Anna, after all her parents had been through in almost 2 decades together, she was certain her father had nothing to do with it.
They'd made it through thick and thin, and to me, they would always make it. You know, they each had their bumps over the years, but nothing that caused any real strain or any even thought of separation. I mean, they were together for life.
It was then that Anna Ratté set out to find the truth about what happened to her mother. She had no idea how long it would take or where it would lead.
Anna made her mother's disappearance a cause. And in her position, I would have too. And she lived and breathed the mystery for 11 years. And they weren't just any 11 years. From 17 to 27 years of age. That's the prime of any young person's formative life. And she had to devote so much emotional space and capacity to what happened to her mother and that big question.
When we come back, Anna begins to piece together her mother's secret past.
I said, what are you doing? Well, she said, I like to take spirits from people. I like to play with people.
She was frightening. She was completely out of control.
In Prince George, British Columbia, 44-year-old wife and mother Wendy Ratté had vanished, seemingly without a trace.
Wendy's missed by her 2 teenage children and her husband, and they have no idea where she may have disappeared to. And we're asking the public for any information they may have.
As the following days became weeks, then months, the theories about what happened only seemed to increase. reporter Frank Peebles of the Prince George Citizen.
People were puzzled, although there were wild stories, and that was the problem that the police faced as well. Literally every possibility was open. Did she join a cult? Did she run off with another man or another woman? Did she just get tired of her domestic life and want to leave? Was she murdered? Was she spirited away by a stranger? Was it someone close to her?
But for all the speculation in Prince George that Wendy might have been another victim of violence along the Highway of Tears, there were those who believed she might well simply have left, disappeared, because she wanted to. Remarkably, back home on the New England coast, that's precisely what Wendy's family believed.
When we first heard about this in Canada, we thought, well, she's disappeared again. We didn't think something horrible had happened to her. We thought she's walked away again.
Karen Twiss is Wendy's older sister. She says that's what the family believed, because it's what Wendy did to them. According to Karen, when Wendy left school at 17, she began to spin out of control, then disappeared.
When we thought about, well, could she leave her husband and her children? The answer was yes. She left us. She left all of the people who loved and cared about her, including all of her friends. She could leave her family.
Karen says at one point they found Wendy living in the woods in New Hampshire.
She was completely out of control, injurious to others, and very frightening.
The family believed Wendy was mentally ill, and eventually she was hospitalized.
Everyone was terrified by what might have happened to her, terrified by the emotional state she seemed to be in.
Wendy had displayed symptoms like those of a bipolar condition, writing bizarre letters to her parents.
I don't know what she meant in those letters. They seemed incomprehensible to me.
And she started signing the name of an alter ego that would often reappear, Shanna. But as soon as she turned 18, she refused treatment and left the hospital. Her family wouldn't see her again for years. Then in 1978, fate would bring together Wendy and Denis Ratté. Denis was a miner from Northern Ontario, looking for some R&R in the casinos of Reno, Nevada. Wendy was working as a hotel maid. She had come trying to escape an abusive boyfriend who was stalking her.
She said that he found her in Reno and was in the process of beating her up in an alley. That was when Denis came along and rescued her.
I think he was scared of me. Never saw him again.
In this recorded telephone call, Denis described that first meeting with Wendy.
We both looked at each other and we both knew we were meant to be together, you know?
An itinerant gambler from Canada might not have seemed the ideal husband, but after rescuing Wendy and reuniting her with her parents, to the Twiss family, Denis was a white knight.
She said she fell in love with him, and when she came home to get married and get ready to get married, she seemed very happy.
Back home in Hearst, Ontario, the Rattés could barely comprehend that Denis the Drifter was about to marry into a well-to-do family from Tony, New England.
As a child, he couldn't read and write. When he got married, he couldn't read and write. While Wendy is more of a scholar. Like, she loves education. She loves to learn. Very, very different. Very different upbringing also.
At their wedding in Connecticut, they were a handsome couple, seemingly well-matched. He looking straight out of Saturday Night Fever, she like a hippie Pocahontas. Before long, Wendy would explain he had not only married her, but also her alter ego.
Just like a different person. She was a different person. And she told me all about it, and holy cow, man.
In this telephone call, Denis described the mental tug of war he felt when Wendy became Shanna.
She was taking my guts away. I felt my spirit go out of me. Holy cow, you're strong. I said, what are you doing? Well, she said, I like to take spirits from people. I like to play with people.
Call it a dual personality, or her spiritual side. Nevertheless, by all accounts, the first years of their marriage were happy ones. Denis had a job in the mines at Uranium City, Saskatchewan. Though it was back-breaking work, the paychecks were regular, and at home there was Wendy and soon 2 kids, Anna and Gabriel. But eventually they would move on. Wendy enrolled in the teacher's program at the University of Saskatchewan. Denis left the mines behind, and they all headed south. With him no longer the breadwinner, the balance of the Ratté family was shifting.
What was it he missed? What was it about that life that he regretted?
How much money he made. Because he never got a job that made him that much money again. And he resented that. She got her degree in teaching, and he found work as a janitor in a hospital, and which was fine, but it's not something he enjoyed.
For Wendy, however, life seemed full of possibility. Growing up in New England, she'd been surrounded by music, theater, and art. And she was, of course, a child of the 60s.
She was into the herbs and the robes, and she was just a wannabe flower child, wanted to live on the land and be free and save the world. She was always trying different things, and then she'd be, now we're not eating any flour anymore, and then we're not eating any milk anymore. Now we're eating only vitamins. She'd go into weird trends.
Her sister-in-law Diane says she held family seances with her children, communing with what she believed were ghostly spirits. And the mysterious person called Shanna was a recurring theme in her life.
Well, she would sit around the table with her kids, and they would hold hands, and she would have a seance. And Shanna would come into her, and she would, speak to the spirits.
She says Shanna was very much the opposite of Wendy.
She would become this Shanna, and that's when she'd be a totally different personality. A wild child. She didn't want to be married with kids.
But it was Denis who felt the brunt of dealing with it.
When she became Shanna, he'd try to get her away from the kids and calm her down. He'd bring her to the bedroom and talk her down. That was his way of dealing with it, because she refused to get help.
She talked all night, like in the other person. And that's what she loved about me, because I did listen. And he gave her a hand to bring her back. It was pretty bad,
Indeed, to Anna, as simple a man as Denis seemed to be, through thick and thin, her father was the rock of the Ratté family.
Dad was always calm, patient, goofy. I valued the time I had with my father. I always considered myself more of the daddy's girl.
After the break, how then to explain this?
When Anna confided in me that she thought that her father may be behind it, it was a bit of a revelation.
It's obvious that there was something there. He was being so strange and evasive and emotional.
By the late 90s, against all odds, Denis and Wendy Ratté had been together for almost 2 decades. They'd raised 2 attractive and intelligent children and seemed to be partners for the long run. After Wendy got her teaching degree, the family relocated to British Columbia, settling on a rural property outside Prince George. Denis found mill work up the highway in McBride, BC. Wendy was a substitute teacher and counseled the unemployed. It was a skill she would soon need at home when Denis had an accident at the mill. His supervisor was Alan Miller.
He actually slipped on this deck somewhere here before we had this mesh on it. When it gets wet with the snow and ice on it, he slipped and fell here. No witnesses to his accident. So he hurt his back, but a back injury is hard to detect what it is.
But the back problems got worse. Unable to handle the demands of manual labor, he lost his job at the mill and applied for workman's compensation.
Having your livelihood taken away from you, when you know that labor is all you can do and you're nearing 50, he was 45 at the time, and when you're 45 and you can't do the labor work anymore, what do you do?
One thing Denis could always do was gamble. Wendy had tried to set some rules about it.
From the beginning, she said, have fun at the casinos and be smart, but no big game poker playing anymore.
Now, Denis relied on poker to provide. When he needed the down payment for their house, he told everyone he'd had a winning lottery ticket. Some family members didn't buy it.
I know when he bought their house in Prince George, he said he won a lottery, and we all kind of went, yeah, right, it was a poker hand. So it was just always a part of their life.
Then came the day that Wendy discovered Denis' secret gambling fund.
We're struggling here, and he has $500 in gambling money. So I remember, and that was the first time I ever saw her a little upset at him.
It was clear that between his gambling, her transformation into Shanna, and their failing finances, the Ratté marriage was falling apart.
Then he lost the money.
How much?
It was about $10,000 is what she thought it was.
It was a single hand of poker. Denis bet on a full house. His opponent had 4 of a kind. Wendy was furious.
I'd never seen her so angry. I'd never heard them yell before. And he just looked so sad, and he didn't even yell back.
Early in 1997, Wendy Ratté began to confide in friends and family that she was thinking of leaving Denis. She told Denis she was considering a sexual relationship with another woman.
She considered the idea of being done with men because of the betrayal factor. Just, you give your life over to someone to have them do something to hurt you.
But in the months to come, Denis' gambling habits apparently didn't change. Wendy gave him hundreds of dollars to pay the dentist, but no dental work was ever done. Anna lent him money to celebrate their wedding anniversary. Same story.
Weeks after the anniversary, I asked Mom, so what did you do for your anniversary? We didn't do anything for anniversary. Why do you ask? When I told her, she went mad again. She was mad again.
As for Denis, since the accident at the mill, he still hadn't found work. Unable to read or write, he couldn't understand want ads, take aptitude tests, or fill out applications.
So once he got hurt, that was basically it for work. He tried using his truck to pick up garbage and bringing it to the dump for his neighbors. He tried different things trying to make money, but nothing seemed to work out.
But just when things seemed to be at their worst, there was a ray of hope. Anna says she could see that her mother was on the verge of changing her mind and staying with Denis.
Over the next month, I could see that she did make a decision, and she had made the decision to stay with him. And she told us, we're going to be fine, and we're going to make this work, and we will be together forever.
But it was less than a month later, on the same day Denis received the final rejection of his workman's compensation claim, that Wendy Ratté disappeared. When Anna Ratté pledged to uncover the truth about her mother's disappearance, she believed whatever problems Wendy had She would not simply have left without a word, no matter what she'd done as a teenager.
But, as members of her family have pointed out, she had done that. Maybe not recently, but
At
she had done
17,
that.
yeah, yes. At 17. Which she wasn't 17 anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, she was a middle-aged mom with a job, a life. She wasn't that kid anymore, and that's something I wish so much. I love my family, but I wish they would see her as the professional adult she was.
But as time passed, her doubts about Denis grew.
I would try so hard over the years to get the story from him. What happened that day? Where did you go? Where's the first place you went? About what time was it? He couldn't tell me. Anytime he tried, it was different. Finally, he broke down, got angry at me, and said, "Go ask the police. I gave them all the information. I'm not talking to anybody about this anymore."
She says Denis was less and less the father she remembered, abusing cocaine, selling heroin, eating at soup kitchens, living on the streets.
Slowly, I would say, he definitely knows something. That's as far as I could bring myself to that point, because, I mean, it was obvious that there was something there. He was being so strange and evasive and emotional.
Anna kept prodding the police, but from the RCMP in Prince George, she mostly got complaints about their lack of resources for what was fast becoming a cold case. Still, no arrests, no charges, and no new information about Wendy. But in 2002, for all the sadness and loss, there was this. A Ratté family wedding. When then 22-year-old Anna married her longtime companion, Eric.
I tried to just keep it as my perfect wedding day. It was a beautiful day. I had a beautiful dress. I want to keep that as kind of an intact memory, even though looking at some of the pictures might be a little difficult.
Difficult for some, because the groom is 16 years older than she is, and her father was not very enthusiastic about the match.
Denny was very quiet, very reflective during that wedding because he was not happy about it. And on top of it all, the first dance was her parents' song, which really upset Denis because that was their song, his and Wendy's. He got very emotional. You could tell Denis wasn't into the wedding, couldn't wait for it to be over.
And of course, they all were aware of the absence of Wendy.
She was definitely on my mind. It is the only celebration I've had since she disappeared. And it was hard to have because she wasn't there. And I'm still not really sure how to celebrate because that's always there.
It was 5 years later, on the 10th anniversary of her mother's disappearance, that Anna Ratté decided to share her suspicions about Denis.
When Anna confided in me that she thought that her father may be behind it, it was a bit of a revelation.
She would discuss those feelings with journalist Frank Peebles.
For someone in that position to be mourning the loss of a mother, to turn her eyes very rationally to the possibility that it was her father was, I think, an emotional breakthrough for me as well, just hearing her say it.
When we return, the police video the Fifth Estate had to go to court to show you.
So after you shot her, what happened then?
And the confession that broke open the case. Was it coercion or the truth?
Nobody comes up with something so abhorrent. It would be so much easier to come up with an easy way of killing her than the way he described it.
It was 2007, a full decade after Wendy Ratté disappeared, And in Prince George, British Columbia, it seemed her case was no closer to being solved than ever. Wendy's daughter Anna thought the RCMP had lost patience, especially with her.
And although they said it very nicely, as nice as you want to say that, it gets tiring. You know, we had 5 years of we don't have time or resources.
But then, out of the blue, a new investigator was assigned the case. He called Anna for a talk.
He said, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how long I'm going to have this case, but I think this is a solvable case. And, you know, my heart was just so happy. He said, I am going to make the recommendation it goes to cold case in Vancouver, and that they look at this, because I really think it needs to be looked at.
The investigation into the disappearance of Wendy Ratté was about to take a dramatic turn. In 2008, an undercover police officer arranged to bump into Denis Ratté at a soup kitchen in Prince George. As far as Denis was concerned, it was an accidental meeting with someone from a prosperous criminal gang that might offer him a job. In fact, it was the start of an elaborate sting designed for one purpose: to get Denis to confess to the murder of his wife. What you're about to see unfold on police video is a controversial scenario known to law enforcement as Mr. Big. The footage has never been broadcast before. The Fifth Estate went to court in BC to get permission to use it. When Denis Ratté was picked up at this Vancouver hotel, he thought he was being taken to meet with a gangland boss who could make him a rich man by hiring him. In fact, Mr. Big is a police officer who just wants to get Denis to talk.
How you been? Good, but that thing started again last week there. Okay.
The thing Denis refers to is the investigation of him in Wendy's disappearance. One of Mr. Big's henchmen brings in a supposedly secret police memo that shows Ratté as suspect number 1.
Yeah, not good. Primary suspect and only suspect, husband, Denis Ratté.
But Mr. Big may be able to make it all go away.
I'll be honest with you, okay? Right now, I haven't decided if I'm gonna help you or I'm not gonna help you, okay? Right now, I wanna see who are you as a person.
But first, he says, Denis will have to come clean about exactly what happened to Wendy. Which, incredibly, he does. In French, Denis describes how he fired a single shot while Wendy was feeding the ducks in their backyard.
Un shot. Oui. Avec quoi? 22. 22.
He says the murder weapon was his .22 caliber hunting rifle. He indicates where the bullet hit Wendy, from behind, in the head.
Oh,
Then he says he wrapped her in a tarp and bludgeoned her with a tire iron to make sure she was dead.
Okay.
And the RCMP material we obtained by court order included video from the days to come.
What road is this called?
This Upper Fraser Road.
Upper Fraser. Okay.
Then he led other supposed gang members, in fact, more police, back to the house outside Prince George where it happened.
Okay, so, you see right beside the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, this has never been screened publicly before.
Okay. So after you shot her, what happened then?
I brought her more behind the garage, because that's where the tarp was.
Oh, you dragged her there?
Yeah. And
nobody, where did you back smash her with the jack? Because that is important, because they may fucking, there may be teeth or bone, you know, you don't...
Yeah, okay, but she was wrapped up in the back, in the tarp when I did that.
So she was already wrapped. And then
okay.
So you just shot the once, right?
Once. I don't believe in twice.
Okay.
With the neighbors.
He tells them where he hid the evidence.
What about the casing?
The casing is on a hard highway in the bush.
And he takes them into the bush where he says he disposed of Wendy's body on that day in 1997.
So everything makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Everything.
Yeah.
But though he showed them exactly where he says he left his dead wife, 11 years later, there were no remains to be found. Understandable, perhaps, in the wilderness of northern BC, populated by carnivores like grizzly bears and wolves. With no body, but with his confession recorded on video, on December 5th, 2008, Denis Ratté was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife, Wendy.
We arrested a 56-year-old Prince George male, Denis Ratté, the husband of Wendy Ratté, and he is charged with second-degree murder.
Here in the RCMP interrogation room, he confessed again, describing the fatal shot. Anna says when she finally heard that from the RCMP, it took some time to sink in.
But I couldn't believe it. But I was the only family member around him too, seeing the changes, and maybe that's why I was able to at least have it click in place in my mind at the point when they said he confessed and he did it.
When you heard that, after all you've just been through for years, what was in your mind?
It was mixed. I think I broke down. And, I had these mixed feelings of betrayal and realization that she is dead, even though in my mind I'd come to terms with that anyway. It was all too much.
Anna Ratté would not see her father's confession on the police video until it was presented in court in Prince George. At trial, Denis Ratté's defense was that his confession was false, that he'd made it all up in order to join the gang and get rich. Denis has called the Mr. Big Sting police entrapment.
I think that at the time that the police started to set up this sting operation, Denis was at the lowest point in his life.
But the jury took only 2 hours to convict him of first-degree murder. Wendy's sister Karen flatly rejects the verdict.
It was a complete farce. It was something that could never happen in our court system, and I didn't understand why it could happen in Canada. We look at Canada, I think, as a wonderful country where fairness happens. And I'm afraid my notion of that is shattered a bit by the way that this case was handled.
And Denis' sister, Diane, still believes in her brother too, for one simple reason, she says. If Wendy died, Denis had nothing to gain and everything to lose.
She was the breadwinner, she was the decision maker, she was the accountant, she was the household, everything. Denis was getting wood for the house and doing stuff in the yard, feeding the chickens. She was everything. And so I just, that was the biggest thing to me was, well, why would he kill her? Like, now he's got nothing.
But Anna believes the video, on which her father describes in detail how he killed her mother. Showing his would-be crime family how he pushed Wendy's body down into a remote swamp outside Prince George.
The way he told this story, nobody comes up with something so abhorrent. It would be so much easier to come up with an easy way of killing her than the way he described it.
No one knows all of this better than you. Why do you think your dad killed your mother?
I think he just couldn't get over how much turmoil she caused being angry with him, and that she was the breadwinner and he no longer felt that he had a say in anything. I think he just was looking for a way out and didn't know any other way.
But was it as simple as that, or something far more complicated? Like what Denis describes as the erratic behavior of Wendy's alter ego, Shanna.
Wendy was more lovely, like motherly, very friendly. As Shanna was very, very aggressive. At the end, she was talking about rapes. Holy cow, man.
In his confession, Denis gives the police a bizarre explanation that he felt he had to kill Wendy to save his daughter Anna from a sexual assault by her own mother. For Anna Ratté, who had spent so long searching for the truth, hearing that was just too much to bear.
And this is where he starts lying. I don't want to watch it. I'm done.
Anna says all she's ever wanted is to hear from her father what happened on the day in 1997 when, for the Ratté family, everything changed. After being tried, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison for murder, for her dad, Denis, finally there was nothing left to hide. Or so it seemed.
He spoke to you at the trial, in the courtroom. What did he say?
He told me to keep looking for my mother, which is just selfish. Why can't you let me rest? Why can't you just tell me what happened? That is all I want from him. Tell me the truth. If he were capable of just letting go of this need for secrecy, maybe I could help him. Maybe he could get his probation in the 15 years. But at this point, he has no chance of getting out. And in fact, I will be there to make sure he doesn't get out.